What up, y'all? Omega Green here. As usual, this episode is brought to you by Lex Wellness Kentucky. Visit lexwellnessky.com and use the code Omega Green for 20% off. Now let's get into it. This is the Green Room. All right, getting into it. This episode is going to be about loyalty.
Hold on, because there's a little smoke left in that bong.
But now, I guess if you want to call it a question, the subject of loyalty, I would say, is pretty important to everybody. But what does it mean to you as far as giving and receiving? And where is the line? Because I'd say, like most people, or for me, loyalty is about integrity. So when it gets to that time, as far as like your loyalty to others and whatnot, I would say you can withstand stuff, but when it gets to a certain point and you feel like you have to depart from your own principles, is when realignment tends to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you stick to your stuff and you're affiliated with somebody, but then they're compromising their shit and then trying to drag you along with it, then it's like you're going to be loyal to that person. If you know that they
You tested my loyalty at that point.
Yeah, exactly. How do y'all feel about the subject of loyalty?
I'm loyal to you as long as you're loyal to me. I'm a loyal person.
Right.
But if it's compromising my principles, my morals, or my beliefs,
Yeah.
we're going to have to talk about it or I'm going to have to walk away.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be loyal to somebody that's putting me in danger or not loyal to me.
Yeah.
Like, and it goes hand in hand with, like, a relationship. I'm going to give, like D-Lo said during the topic, when y'all hear it, the run it back topic, like,
Yeah.
with loyalty, I'm going to give you what you give me.
Yep.
I'm going to give you all my loyalty because you're showing me all yours. But the second you compromise that, or the second you go against my morals or my principles, I can't give you that anymore. I have to step away from you.
Yeah.
And I'm an all in or nothing person when it comes to loyalty. Either I'm loyal to you or I'm not.
Yeah.
And if I'm not loyal to you, I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want to be around you. I don't want you in my life.
Right.
Yeah. And I think about like I said, maybe the core of loyalty, because to me, it is about an integrity thing on a personal, individual level. But for other people, sometimes it could be maybe like a means to an ends, like disingenuous, where it's like they'll be loyal to you, to develop a bond. But then if they're off doing all kinds of shit, then they want to come and kind of like I said, not, maybe drag you along, but at the same time, like try to be like, well, this person did this or this happened or whatever. And like, you might be like, yeah, that's because you're fucking up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just because we're cool, you've never done anything against me doesn't mean that I don't feel the same way that the other person does.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, D?
Loyalty's really high with me. Like, if you're not loyal, then like you said, like what, like we ain't talking. You know what I mean?
Why are
Like,
you in my face?
yeah, like I'm not around you. Like, get away from me, type deal. Like, like loyalty's everything. Like you said, it's an integrity situation. Like, if you're not loyal, then I can't trust your integrity, your morals. Like, I just can't trust you.
And these are, and when I say what I said, and I feel like when you say what you say, it's more like we're talking about people that like we're already loyal to.
Yeah.
Like if you fuck up, then that's gonna break that for me.
Yeah.
But if I just met you and we're just associates or cordial, there's no loyalty there.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna disrespect you.
Right.
But there's no loyalty built there for there to be like you took my loyalty for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially. So I feel like we're on the same page.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like this right here. If anybody try to talk bad about either one of y'all in this room right now, I'm stepping up for y'all. You know what I mean? Like,
Come on, loyal.
You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, nah, he didn't do that. You know, they'd be
gonna make me
like, did you know that? Did you hear that Hobby killed somebody? He didn't do that.
Facts.
That doesn't sound like
That don't sound like Hobby.
And then I come to your house later on with a machete and a black bag
Hey.
with gloves. Talking about I need your help, D-Lo.
Hey, but on the outside, you didn't do it.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
That's the loyal. That's the loyal. But
Yeah.
we're gonna have to talk about this afterwards. 'Cause
Right.
if you get
Right.
caught, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Facts.
Loyalty it's important. I've actually been in conversations where, you know, somebody wanted to speak on a relative of mine, and I'm like, look, we're not doing that. This person is not here to defend themselves, and you can feel the way you feel, but we're just not going to address. We're just not going to talk. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Cause like such a no.
We're not doing that.
Because I'm definitely not going to say anything behind your back that I wouldn't say to your face.
Right.
Yeah.
And plus,
I mean,
you know that's my family. Why? How dare you?
Yeah. Why are you going to put somebody in that position to be like, oh, but you can't tell them? What do you mean?
Right.
Like,
Right. And loyalty is important. It is important. It like I said, it's a part of trust, because there's just some things that you tell somebody and they run back and tell it, and they just, and you're like, oh, okay. It can be the smallest thing. Like, look, I'm gonna tell you this, but I'm gonna tell you this, but look, don't. That happened before. Like I said, I've been through so much. But
I mean, you are a dinosaur. So
I ain't. Yeah. I'm a T-Rex. But yeah. We were actually doing a bachelor party, and one of the guys said something about one of the groomsmen was feeling some kind of way and said something about the other groomsmen. I said, man, you wrong for that, man. We not doing that, man. You tripping. And so when he heard me, he came back to our table and he heard me say that. He was like, what's going on here? I'm like, nah, man, because I don't want to get nothing started. And then he goes, no, you good, man. And I told him what he said. I said, but look, man, don't say nothing, because I don't want to kill the vibe. And he went back and he addressed him with it. And so I knew at that point that, there's just some things I can't say to him.
yeah.
And because if you have somebody that says to you, I know I was being petty. I probably was being petty. If you can say that about something before you start the conversation, then you was being petty.
Right.
Yeah.
You was being petty. So that if anybody that ever says that, I know I was probably being petty. And you can't trust them, because that means that they don't have the wherewithal to just shut down a situation. They get too emotional to where they don't care about you and how it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
So loyalty is very important. So depending on what that was broken, I can still deal with you, but there's just parts of me I'm not going to share with you.
Now, do you all feel like you have high expectations when it comes to loyalty?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good question.
We both said yeah at the same time.
That's a good question.
Well, especially if I'm giving you all the loyalty, I expect that back. You know what I mean? Like, I expect what I give out with that.
I don't think it's high expectations. I just think loyalty is loyalty. Either you can give it or you can't.
Yeah.
Well,
You either rock with me or you don't.
Well, that's true, but I feel like depending on the person, different people can have different kind of expectations and different ideas about what it means.
Oh, I knew she was
going to
talk shit about me. It's cool. That's my girl.
Yeah.
No, bitch.
Yeah.
Well, she told me that you have slept with Tim and Thomas and Aaron and Brad and girl,
Shut up, bitch.
Yeah. Shut up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mama is Sheila. Samson and Sheila, mama fell. Shut up, bitch. But back to that question. There are expectations, and how you deal with those expectations it can vary. It can vary. Like, you can have somebody that you expect to show up because you show up.
Yeah.
That when they text you or they call you and you miss that call or text, you respond back, you check back with them.
Yeah.
And you might not get that in return. And you're like, you know what? I thought we was better than that. But now I see who you are. So that expectation is gone. Now it's like, what do you want? What do you want? You might only hear from them when they want something.
Yeah.
You know, but you wasn't that way with them, and so now you like, okay, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
You know, so it just it's how you deal with the expectation. You know, you can be nasty. You can be nasty and be like, oh, that's such and such. They cut off. You know, I'm not dealing. You know, you just ignore them altogether, or you can just be like, yeah, what is it, and just be like, no, I can't help you.
Yeah, and I will say that like loyalty does look different with different people, because I know that some people, I can't depend on them to keep their mouth shut.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So, but I can depend on them in their loyalty in another part
To
of,
help
or
you in some
aspect.
fashion,
Like,
yeah.
so like this person's loyal for this. This person's loyal for this. If
Yeah.
I need a ride or die that's gonna fight with me, I know I can call my brother Thomas. He's gonna be
Yeah.
loyal for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, so I get what you're saying. Like it looks different for every relationship that you're
Yeah.
in. Like, and I'm not saying relationship is in like person
Yeah.
on person. I'm saying like relationship is in like your relationship with individual people. Loyalty looks different.
Yeah.
Some people you can depend on for everything. Some people you can't.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
It's just who you know and how you know them. Like, I know that such and such is gonna be loose lips, so I can't depend on her to hold in a secret that I have, but I can depend on her to watch my kids this weekend when I go to the club.
Right.
I know she's a loyal babysitter, you know. So I mean, like, I do get what you're saying. Like, loyalty looks different for everybody. What do you think though
About what?
about your
Lo-
main
yeah.
topic, your main
About
question?
loyalty. Like what form of loyalty will it
I feel like it's an exchange of respect,
Yeah.
you know, and it's legit for like on a person to person basis. I, for one, don't feel like I have super high expectations. It's like you don't have to jump through hoops, but when it comes down to, yeah, like being able to communicate and be real, because I'd say that's the biggest thing, to where it's like at least be real about shit,
Right.
you know, and that's also kind of like where everybody's got a different red line, you know. For me,
Facts.
kind of like you said, it's like the red line for me disintegrating like legitimate loyalty for somebody is pretty much seeing that they are just a certain kind of way and can't be trusted, or they're willing to compromise stuff or put me in a position that is going to be awkward for me and potentially compromise my own interests. And then be
Yeah.
like, yeah, if you're going to stick me here, like something that might not have anything to do with me, it's like, it's about you. And now, you know, so then I'll be like, nah. Or if you know that they just habitually are not trustworthy, then it's like, you
Facts.
don't, you know. So again, a two-way street. But for me personally, like as long as you show me, then yeah, I'm a pretty loyal person
Yeah.
for the most part. I mean, like, we've known each other for how long?
Since
Long
high
ass
school.
time. Yeah. So it's the only people that I really know and hang out with on a regular basis now are the people who it's boiled down to, the people that I can rock with
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
And that at some base level is a loyalty thing, because I don't surround myself with people that I don't feel like I can trust, you know?
Facts.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of, I like to think that's kind of normal for most people, because I've seen, and it's usual type stuff culturally, socially, to where you're young, you're in school, you're around all kinds of people, and then as you get older, you go to college, you get a job, you get set in your ways, you meet somebody, and it's kind of like people have the tendency to fall off. So it's like some people who are your friends or were your friends become like associates, and then you got like your main people that you kick it with,
Yep.
you know, to where there's an understanding where it's like you might not hang out all the time, but when you do, shit's gonna be real,
Facts.
you know.
Yeah.
And
3 people came to mind when you were saying it.
Yeah.
So I completely agree.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is one thing. Like, I have people that like I know their loyalty.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But with their energy, like negative most of the time, like
Yeah.
I choose not to be around that.
yeah,
Like,
and that's understandable. I appreciate loyalty, I view it, but I don't expect other people to just do everything that I say. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Facts. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was with like the expectations thing, to where it's like some people are the type of people to where it's like, oh, if you're loyalty, it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong.
Get down on your knees.
I expect you to side with me type shit.
Oh yeah, no. My loyalty is more like I expect you to let me know when I'm wrong.
Yeah. And I feel like that's legit too, because you need somebody there, like a third party, to be able to check you sometimes, be like, yo, you're being you're being ridiculous, or what about this, or what about that? Did you think, and maybe present you with other information that might change your mind. Because I heard something the other day, I forget, it was on the radio, and they had mentioned that if you have information that you've gathered yourself, you might be able to learn about something, but most of the time your mind is going to be changed by somebody else speaking to you, relating and conveying information straight to the heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so yeah, like my thoughts on all that is, my personal opinion being loyalty is one of the most important things, because as y'all said, it's a trust thing, and it's kind of like a bedrock of many different types of relationships.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. 100%.
Well, I appreciate everybody's feedback
Yeah.
on the issue. I'm gonna
good
wrap up the
shit.
green room. Thank you
Hey.
everybody
Good
for
stuff.
listening
Good
in,
stuff. Good stuff.
and we will see you again soon.
All right.
Omega Green signing off.
Peace.
Laters.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.